Hey everyone, we've been doing this series on YouTube for complete beginners, and if you've been following along the whole time, you are in a pretty good place vis-a-vis making and uploading a video. So today we want to cover where that video should live, namely the homepage. So let's jump into that. I don't have a ton of time today, so for making this desk more homey, I just brought my cashews. They're gonna live over there. And with that out of the way, it's time to ask the cosmos who our sponsor is. I remembered how to do this from memory, by the way, folding this. Huh, would you look at that? We're sponsored by us. That's right, today we'd like to tell you about monster thumbnails. So if you're a creator who loves to create and loves to put out videos and you hate making thumbnails, which is exactly how I am, then monster thumbnails might be for you. There's a lot of different levels there for a lot of different budgets. Go to monsterthumbnails.com to check it out and learn more. And with that, let's talk about your channel page. One thing I want to get out of the way right away is that the channel page is not a huge place for viewership. You're not gonna make or break your channel on the viewership page. If you are like just starting out, like your channel's a week old and you're telling your friends and family about it somewhere like Facebook, yes, channel pages might be the biggest place for viewership because that's the link that you're using. But in the grand scheme of things, most channels don't get their viewership from the channel pages. Because if you're subscribed to a channel and you just like watching it, when you log on to YouTube and you're on the browse page, you're just gonna see it right there. And if somebody goes and searches for your channel, they're probably just going to click a video out of the search results. They're not going to go to your channel page. It happens. It doesn't happen a tremendous amount. However, that does not mean that your channel page is entirely useless either, and you shouldn't just ignore it. If someone who's never seen one of your videos before really likes it and they want to know more, they might go to your channel page to figure out what your deal is. They might want to know if this is the typical kind of content you make, and therefore should they subscribe. They might want to know if you've been around for a while or if you're actively uploading. People will go to channel pages to find out, is this dead or is this something that I should be subscribed to? A good channel page helps establish who you are, what it is you do, and how often you do it. A bad channel page doesn't do those things, and it makes it look like your channel is dead or defunct and doesn't give people a lot of hope that they should expect content from you in the future. So when we are building a channel page, we're building it out to give the best impression of what that channel is and what value it provides to a viewer, which incidentally does help convert on views too, but mostly we're doing it to try and establish an identity. This is what we're here to do. So let's go over to a channel page and talk about kind of the anatomy and what we look for in a good channel page. One of the first things that people ask about when we're talking about the channel page is the channel trailer, and that makes a lot of sense because it autoplays. It's the first thing that people are going to directly observe about your channel. Some people in this space simply put their most recent video. Whatever they've done most recently, they just have it there. People see the most recent video. Some people have a dedicated channel trailer that they put up that explains explicitly what the channel is about and what you can expect to see there. If you are totally new to YouTube and you're a complete beginner, does it make sense to make a channel trailer? Maybe. There's a couple things to keep in mind here. First of all, you can customize the channel trailer so that it's different for people that are totally new, who've never been to the page before, and for people who are returning viewers. So if people have already seen your content, you can give them your most recent content and also have a dedicated trailer for people that are totally new. If you want to do that, all you have to do is click on Customize Channel when you're logged in. You'll go here. It pretty explicitly has, here's for people who haven't subscribed. Here's for returning subscribers. And while you're here, you can also see how you can structure the rest of the page. We'll get into the actual choices that we tend to make there in a second. You'll notice for both people who haven't subscribed and returning subscribers, we don't have just an explicit channel trailer. These are both things that are kind of native content in their own right, but they're also kind of content that serves that purpose. If we look at our video for new people who aren't subscribed, you'll see that it starts with an intro that basically intros Matt, and it talks about kind of what we do here. So it's native content, but it kind of serves the same function anyway. If you're totally new and you're just starting out, it's totally fair to pick a piece of content that you really, really like that's representative of your content as a whole. With returning subscribers, you have a little bit more leeway because they're subscribed, they should know you. And so we do have a different video here in how to increase CTR, which is one that tends to have value to people that are returning. But when you're talking about this, when people want to do most recent, that's totally fair game, especially as a beginner. If you just want to set that one to most recent video, go for it. As well, some people try and pick a video that's struggling in the hopes that it will bolster views. And while I totally get the methodology, it just kind of doesn't work all that often. Like, people don't come to the channel page enough to really bolster views. Sometimes it happens with kids content, but unless you're making early childhood content, that definitely doesn't apply to you. As well, how badly you need a channel trailer depends on how quickly you can get your value proposition across. So let's go to one of my favorite channels that definitely doesn't need a channel trailer in Kiwami, Japan. So this is Kiwami, Japan, and they definitely don't need a channel trailer because all of their videos are just making knives out of things that you shouldn't make knives out of. So they just have the sharpest Jell-O kitchen knife in the world. And if you watch that video, it tells you everything you need to know about whether or not you want to subscribe to Kiwami Japan. And side note, you should want to check out Kiwami Japan, because check this out. I watched the whole video, but like, look at that. That's a knife made out of Jell-O cutting paper. To be a YouTuber, you do not have to love everything on YouTuber, but I feel like we should all be able to appreciate that somebody made a knife out of Jell-O. They made a knife out of egg. That's dope. So that takes us through the channel trailer. What about the rest of the page? What do we put underneath the channel trailer? A lot of people, and basically by default, will just put their uploads. So whatever's the most recent is going to be there in a row. And typically we don't actually recommend this. If you're just getting established and you're just starting to want to care about the channel page, we usually recommend going with a playlist and having it laid out horizontally. We do this because, again, we're trying to make the channel place a place you can go to establish what this channel's about, and a playlist lets us communicate this value proposition really cleanly. So rather than just saying uploads, we have a playlist that says start YouTube in 2021 the right way. Guess what? This is a place you can go to jumpstart how you think about YouTube in the next year. That does a lot more to communicate what our channel's about than just uploads. And again, while you probably want to promote your newest upload, this isn't the place that it's going to get views. It's going to get browse views, which means it's coming from a viewer's homepage or from their notifications. Depending on if somebody's on mobile and how big their monitor is, that should usually get you through most of the homepage that people are going to natively see. So after that, you have a little bit more leeway. In this case, that's where we put our uploads. Again, laid out horizontally, we find that that tends to be an aesthetically nice way to do it. And then underneath that, we have a couple more playlists, including one where we promote our Monster Shorts channel, which is something that we've been experimenting with as YouTube has rolled out Shorts. Which has been interesting. And the further and further down the page you get, the more leeway you have. Typically, we like to start with things that people can watch just because that's how they interact with YouTube, but you go down further, we have good YouTube channels to follow, and so on and so forth. You can start to freestyle it at that point. So that takes care of a lot of the actual layout, and that's where we get most of our questions. The other place that people do talk about is the channel banner and the channel art. These can be pretty exciting things because people are excited to have like a visual identity and a visual logo, because those things can be pretty cool. There is a lot of wisdom on graphic design that I am not qualified to give. However, when it comes to the channel banner, there are a few things that we try to keep in mind and try and communicate. First, you should have some visual cohesion between your channel icon and your channel banner. In our case, we're using the same logo. It just helps establish this all as one cohesive thing. If you have an icon and a banner and a logo and they all look super different, it can be weird for people to find you, because if they remember what the channel banner looked like and then they're searching and they see the icon on YouTube, is it the same thing? Is it not? It usually just helps to keep them visually cohesive. As well, in addition to the channel name, we usually try and have something that explains a little bit of what's going on here. In this case, we have kind of our tagline, we build audiences. You don't have to have it as a fancy marketing tagline. It can be as simple as, I make gaming videos every week. New challenges on Thursday. In terms of what you're communicating, as a beginner, you don't have to overthink it, but as a quick guideline, say what you're about, and if you know what your schedule is, say what your schedule is. As a total beginner, you don't have to sit down and focus test these lines like a marketing group. They don't have to be a slogan, but it's usually good to just say, channel name, here's what I'm about, here's when I upload. Honestly, I'm noticing that we don't post our schedule, and I know that we've had some schedule shakeups, but I might actually readdress that with Matt. I've been a big proponent of saying your schedule for a long time, and I'm wondering if our thinking has changed on that, or if we're just not taking our own advice. I think Matt's gone home for the day, but we will address that. As you grow and expand, if you start to see yourself as a brand, you might want to have a more concrete visual identity and think about having a logo and how you want to say things exactly. But just starting out, having a quick summary is totally fine. That will end up taking care of a lot of questions as they come up in terms of how to lay things out. Videos is pretty much set. You can mess around with playlists a little bit, but not really. Community tab is kind of its own thing, and there's best practices around it, but they aren't within the purview of how we do channel layout. Same thing with channels, it doesn't really come up a tremendous amount. The last page that we can really customize is the About page, which if you're just starting out, this again is not something that you need to spend a tremendous amount of time on. This is a good place for you to have a quick description of who you are and what you're doing here. If you have a set schedule, again, you can put it here just to give people a communication thing. people do not read this a tremendous amount of the time. If you get big enough to the point that you're like, hey, I'm kind of in the range where I can start to think about accepting brand deals, then it can help to have a business inquiry email in here. But before that point, if you're just starting out, you can just have a few quick words about who you are, what you do, and when you do it, which is really a microcosm of our advice as it relates to the channel page for a beginner. You want the channel page to represent who you are, what you do, when you're doing it, and to make sure that you're still active and doing it, so that when somebody comes to your channel page for whatever reason, their friend told them to come check it out, they watched a video and they want to see if this is something that they want to like invest in or go down that rabbit hole. You want those people to have a really good idea in a really short amount of time that, yes, this is something that I'm into, I'm going to be a part of this. For example, if you were one of my coworkers in August 2019, you would have almost certainly heard me ranting and raving about Yellis Marbles runs. Does this page tell you what they're doing? Yes, it does. It has a big video that actually starts with a trailer of its own that tells me that this is marble racing. Does it tell me when they do it? Yes, they have their schedule right here. Is their branding visually cohesive? Yes, it is. That's the kind of questions that people come to the channel page to answer. It's not a big place for views, but it's something that we still try and get right. And with that, as a beginner, you know probably everything you need to know about setting up your channel page. I hope this video has been helpful to you. And with that, thank you so much for watching. We have some other great videos on audience development over here that you can check out. If you like this video, be sure to let us know that you liked it and that you would like to see more like it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Little Monster for more videos on audience development every single week. See you next time.